This is for educational purposes. Welcome back, family. There was a time in history when a woman could lose her freedom without ever committing a crime. She did not have to steal. She did not have to harm anyone. She did not have to break any laws. In some cases, all she had to do was challenge the wrong person. Throughout the 1718 and into the early 1900s, women lived under legal and social systems that often granted husbands extraordinary authority over their wives. A woman's opinion, emotions, and behavior were frequently judged through the lens of what society believed a wife should be. A good woman was expected to be obedient. A good woman was expected to be agreeable. A good woman was expected to remain within the boundaries others had established for her. And when women stepped outside of those boundaries, questions were sometimes raised about their character, their morality, and even their sanity. Some women generally suffered from mental illnesses and required care. Mental health struggles have existed throughout human history, and many families sought help for the loved ones with the best intentions they knew. Yet history also reveals another story, a story of women whose voices were dismissed, women whose grief was misunderstood, women whose anger was treated as instability, women whose independence was viewed as rebellion, women who found themselves trapped within institutions despite showing little evidence of the severe mental illnesses they were accused of having. The story becomes even more complex when we consider how little medicine understood at that time. Conditions we now recognize as postpartum depression, hormonal disorders, neurological illnesses, trauma responses, toxic exposure, and chronic stress were often grouped together under broad labels such as hysteria or female nervous disorder. How many women were truly suffering from mental illnesses? How many were suffering from medical conditions that doctors did not understand at that time? How many were reacting to abuse, loss, exhaustion, or impossible circumstances? And how many were simply inconvenient to those who held power over them? These questions do not have easy answers. What we do know is that countless women lived in a world where their freedom could be taken with little opportunity to defend themselves. But this is not the only story about injustice. It is also the story about courage. It is a story about women who refuse to remain silent. Women who challenged the system that confined them. Women who exposed abuses hidden behind locked doors. As dangerous as the laws were, the laws alone were not enough. A husband could accuse his wife of being unstable. A family member could question her behavior. A community could whisper about her reputation. But accusations needed something more powerful than suspicion. They needed legitimacy. And in the 18th and 19th century, that legitimacy often came from medicine. And what happened next would give husbands, doctors, and institutions a language that could transform a disagreement into a diagnosis. A diagnosis so broad, so subjective, and so poorly misunderstood that countless women found themselves labeled by behaviors that today might be considered ordinary expressions of emotion, grief, frustration, independence, or resistance. Women fought to change laws so that future generations would have the rights they themselves were denied. Their struggles remind us that freedom should never depend upon another person's approval, and that the right to be heard, believed, and treated with dignity is not a privilege. It is a human right. Their stories did not begin inside an institution. It began with society's expectations of what women should be. Join me next time for part 1 of this 5-part series. The perfect woman was a silent woman. Until next time, love, peace, and wisdom.